Remember the Xbox is dead calendar, the Xbox rumor mill calendar? Now, this calendar is a dynamic one because sometimes there's a fake layer of outrage that also goes into this calendar and, its rules. Apparently, for the media, Xbox is dead every day. I hope you're listening. There is no day that goes without bad Xbox news, and this is why we've layered the calendar with Xbox is dead. More importantly, the nature of the news that came out had people like Oliver Darko reporting or replying to Destin when he asked, how come there's no Xbox news on Sunday? And Oliver Darko said, oh no, it came out on Tuesday. It seems like they now know that we're now predicting them. And so it's interesting for them to drum up outrage about something that Xbox has done. Xbox has raised the prices of its development kit. In fact, some people are quite upset about it. Oh, they don't want to make games anymore, they say. The Chaos Lounge, shout out to you. You said to this guy, Legacy Killer HD, you said, do some reading on the topic and stop the fake outrage. The fact you don't know Xbox gives free dev kits says it all. Just another chancer. This is in regard to Mike Straw's article that he wrote from Insider Gaming, where he said even Xbox dev kits are going up in price. Now, price increases are trash. There's no doubt about that. Nobody wants to spend extra money in getting developer kits or development kits to make their games. However, Xbox is that platform that's been giving free dev kits once you enter their ID at Xbox program. Number two, the reason I have an Xbox Series X console is because you can actually use it as a development kit. One thing people don't necessarily know, and I was very surprised that a lot of folk don't even know this, is that you actually can convert your console into a limited development kit to start doing your testing once you get your SDK or whatever API approved from whatever engine you're using. You can build your own engine and you can go ahead and, do the job and get things to work in the developer modes to do your troubleshooting and such if you want. You can use all kinds of different pieces. But this is actually very interesting because a few years ago, I decided I was going to dabble into game development. It's the worst idea that you can ever have. If you're just thinking, oh, yeah, now don't do it. It's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you time, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Now, if that is appealing to you and you're crazy like me, then I welcome you into the enterprise. But just know that your failure rate is 99.999 and then add an extra 9 on top. That's what's going to happen. Now, if that still appeals to you, then you're probably going to make it if you decide. And when I say make it, that means ship a game. I'm not saying you're going to sell the game. Oh, no. That's a whole different paradigm. So right now, after how many years, I'm still at the prototype phase because many of those years was me trying to do it myself, which that is just a waste of time. And so now working with teams and getting contacts and figuring out people who have the skills that want to be freelance and don't want to go work in the industry, that's another thing too. That's a whole different beast, has been the very best piece for me to be able to make any headway. In my library here, if you see this button, I cannot click this button because if I click it, I'm going to NDA myself. I have people that are working on this prototype with me that we've, pretty much ensured that they sign contracts. So I cannot show you that. And so that's where we cook a lot of the stuff that we do. Once in a while, I'll fire it up and I'll show an example on some things, like how do we even say, you know what? I can show you a few things. Hold on. Hey, look at this. So I click the library tab and I have hidden everything else up there. And I can show you this. This is like a prototype thing I was doing on 5.4, colorizing a world to be read. And this is just my asset library. They've moved it all to Fab right now. But the projects that I'm working on with those, with teams of programmers are hitting up top. And so knowing that that's a development kit by itself, and knowing that Xbox actually provides its developers, at least as of a few hours ago, free dev kits for indies, is wild that when you read these articles, we have not seen anybody say a lot of this stuff, in terms of the conversation. It's not just consumers, Mike Straw writes, feeling the pinch of Microsoft's price increases as Xbox dev kits are also going up. Now, keep in mind that PlayStation's own process is insane, and when you finally get in, you then have to purchase your own developer kits, and the development kits for PlayStation, dude, go even find a developer kit on eBay, a PlayStation dev kit that makes its way to eBay. Go look how much it costs. That's like secondhand on the eBay market. You don't even know if it works. You don't even know if you have the most updated game developer kit or even software or firmware in it, and you're still going to pay an arm and a leg. Now, I know the whataboutisms are crazy, but you also can imagine that you can buy an Xbox Series S. You can go on Facebook Marketplace and spend $200 and something or $200, if not less, and get yourself started if you are an indie developer. Even if you're not an indie developer, I mean, literally, even if you're like a big name studio and you're like, man, how many dev kits are we gonna buy? At least we're in the beginning phase of our development. Let's go ahead and start getting something done. You can still do that. And he writes, according to Tom Warren at The Verge, sources say that the company is raising the price of Xbox development kits, and it's said that the dev kits prices are going up from $1,500 to $2,000. Tom Warren is the one who actually spurned off this particular article. He's talking about the tariffs and talking about all of these things. Now, these are pertinent things to talk about. There's no doubt about it. But there also has to be a piece of the conversation, right, that also highlights information when it comes down to it. You understand what I mean? And these so-called economic factors are very interesting, when it comes down to go ahead and, figure out how all this comes together, right? Because the beauty, in the gaming conversation allows you, or I guess I'll say, allows for us to be able to cite, a lot of context that may be missing. I was reading Game Over 30's, missive about this, and he was making a lot of sense. I thought, man, this is insane when he actually broke this stuff down about the article and about the reports. He said, what this report does not consider. As of today, the ID at Xbox program would deliver Xbox Series dev kits free of charge. Xbox is still supporting developers, indie devs. Those people who were laughing and saying Xbox has no games, the reason I was laughing at many of you is because you guys did not see how Xbox was actually cultivating a culture where there is a barrage of indie developers ready to drop video games for like the next 10 years. I'm talking at a cadence that PlayStation wouldn't even know what happened to it. Now, PlayStation has to, or in their minds, they thought they had to gatekeep, right? Or whatever the heck it is. But the problem with that is we're now in a content war. And you got to have a supply, at least, an entire pipeline of content coming your way so that you can pick and choose how you position them. And Xbox is no longer in a position where they're just going to be bringing their own first-party studio games. Their third-party initiatives is going to also be a huge tool in their bag, where if they can look at a game and say for $50 million or for 8 or 10, depending on the size of the game, we can get a game to market on Game Pass faster than Sony can sit there and mint a game for 6 to 8 years, they'll do it. And this is the initiative that actually allows for developers to immediately have a leg up on getting their games ready, testing their games, and making sure that they're ready for deployment. And so once the developer already gets a place where it can start testing on consoles, which is usually quite ideal and pristine, one SKU, right? Immediately, it's easy for them to start getting whatever it is that they need. If they need to go get, investment and so on and so forth, this gets them to where it is that they need to be. Developers who do not need extra processing headroom can use their local series consoles as a dev kit. The GDK, Game Developer Kit, is free of charge on GitHub and officially supported by Microsoft. A developer can start on the GDK even without applying for ID at Xbox or spending any money up front, of which that application is about $19 and change. I did apply for it as a hobbyist. I was looking towards what it would take to convert that application into like a small studio. And so I was getting all that done at one point, and then we had to basically scrap huge chunks of the project. And so now we're starting a whole different... Bro, I'm telling you, man, don't touch this thing. And it says, and just so we're clear, dev kits used to be absurdly expensive back in previous generations. And so some people are, somebody said you can't really use a regular console as a dev kit, only in a specific mode, but those games are in specific categories on the store that nobody ever checks. I don't think this person is actually, positioning what it is that he said, at the end of the day. But some people want to harp on the pricing going up by 33%. You're pretending as if the development kit's going up 33% affects you. If you understand what I mean. Every developer that's serious already probably has a developer kit or is an indie waiting for development kits to be shipped to them, of which they don't have to wait for a development kit to be shipped to them. They can literally go on Facebook Marketplace, Walmart, wherever it is, Target, because, apparently they're not pulling the stock, and they can buy an Xbox that allows for a development kit. This has always been the developer-friendly side of Xbox. It's not one that I talk about. I usually keep that under wraps. And so I would wish that when we have these conversations, from the perspective where we can show everybody, what I think is the context, the broader context as to what's going on. Is increasing the price of the development kit's a good thing? No, right? I mean, they should already have been priced with no losses in mind. This is not like the consoles that are subsidized. So what is the excuse here for Xbox? There is none. They just want to make more money. And now, it's what I warned all of you about. They're starting to see that they are the most valuable platform for consoles and now are encroaching into PC. Thankfully, Steam and all the other propositions now have to kind of collectively provide that proposition that's going to pretty much push Xbox to humility. And that's the good thing about all of it. If not, they would provide such a proposition that I would be concerned at the end of the day, right? But again, Steam has legacy. That's the thing Amazon realized, and Xbox knows that. They're not trying to encroach on Steam. Don't get it wrong. We're getting twisted. If anything, they're trying to copy and complement Steam because they know that's the only way that they can win. Amazon failed when they tried to wipe out Steam. That was a foolish enterprise. In fact, the former Amazon executive wrote about it on LinkedIn. That's a whole different story. I covered that, back in the day. But Xbox is not taking that approach. They seem too wise for that nonsense because that's the end. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video. Peace out.